Hello and welcome to ever happen to stumble upon this video or come back to my channel. Hi, my name is Dana and welcome to my June plan with me. So before we get into June, we're just going to do a quick flip through of May. If you did not watch my May plan with me, that one is up. I had so much fun with this theme. As you can see, it was like a really celebratory theme because I graduated college and turned 22 in the month of May. So it's a pretty big month for me. So I had a lot of fun with this like champagne and balloons and everything theme. But now it is time to transition into June. So if you guys do not exist in the same area of the internet that I do, you may or may not know that Olivia Rodrigo's album Sour came out towards the end of May, and personally I have been absolutely obsessed with this album. It has been on repeat, no skips, all the time in my car, so I thought that was the perfect theme idea to do for June. So for you guys who are not familiar, I'm just going to put in a picture right now of her album cover so you guys can kind of see the inspiration of all the stickers with the flowers and the butterflies and the stars, and kind of the font idea, the way that Sour is actually shown on the album is what I took a lot of inspiration from on my theme. For this, I ended up using a lot of different colors, mostly kind of sticking to like pink, purple, blue, green, red, and yellow, which is kind of all of the colors, I guess, other than orange, I think. So this was basically from a couple of different packs of markers that I have, my Crayola Super Tips, Zebra mild liners, and my Tombow dual brush pens, which will all be linked down below. Along with my bullet journal, I have an Archer and Olive bullet journal, which actually has like 4 pages left. So I really stuck to like single page spreads for the month of June because I don't like to be wasteful, so I didn't want to move over into my new bullet journal just yet, because if I do single page spreads for the rest of the month, which I've pretty much been doing during the summer because all I really have to write is that I'm going to work, school really takes up a lot of my 2-page spreads, so it's a 1-page spread kind of summer. But the gist of what I'm trying to say is that I'm not moving into my new bullet journal until July. And I'm on a bit of a weird like yearly schedule of my bullet journals because this one started in July and is ending in July, and I know people typically go from January to January, but last year in 2020 I started out with a pretty small bullet journal that only lasted me the first half of the year, so then I moved into a bigger one that lasted me the rest of the year, like an entire full 12 months. But I didn't want to waste a bullet journal and move early just so it would be like January to January, because that's not something I really care about. However, all of this being said, I will be switching into a new bullet journal for the month of July. I will probably be doing a new bullet journal transition video like I did when I moved into this journal. I can link that video for you guys in the cards and down below if you are interested. Also, please let me know in the comments if you want me to do a flip through of this bullet journal, or if you want me to wait until the end of 2020 and do a full 2021 flip through with from January to December of the entire year, or if you just want to see this one now that it is completed. Also, while you are watching me color this in, I'm just going to mention I'm using a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen for the thicker black letters and a Micron fine liner for the thinner letters. I do that throughout the whole setup. But back to my bullet journal itself, I loved my Archer and Olive journal. So the new one I'm moving into is also Archer and Olives. That will be my second one. They are great, super high quality journals. I do have a coupon code with them for 10% off, so I will leave that for you guys on the screen right now if you are interested in getting your own Archer and Olive bullet journal. But my talking aside, that is my cover page done, and now we are moving on to my quote page. So of course, for my Olivia Rodrigo themed bullet journal setup, I had to do an Olivia quote from Sour as my quote page. So for the one that I did, you can't see what it says yet, but I did I hope you know how proud I am you were created, from Hope You're Okay. Love that song. It does make me cry probably 75% of the time that I listen to it, but I think it's a really beautiful song, and this is a super nice quote. Also, I know this quote definitely has reference to the LGBTQ community, and it is Pride Month, so I thought that was also a bonus for using that quote, because I know that was, I believe, her intention, but also just what I hear people saying about the meaning of the song. I hope you know how, and I am, you were, that's a little weird to say, in just a simple script lettering, and then proud and created. I did the same style as I did for June, kind of that sour lettering, I'll call it, where you have it in like the off-center boxes and you alternate between the thicker and thinner fonts, which again, just a brush pen and a fine liner, which you could use just one marker for this and just make it thicker yourself. So if you don't have as many supplies, you can definitely still recreate this theme concept. And I really love trying out different lettering styles. I feel like that's something I try to experiment more with in my bullet journal, because I feel like really from month to month, the actual like layouts, what you do per page is pretty similar. It's just the details like the colors, the doodles, and the font that really bring it to life and make it these different themes. So I thought this was a really fun and really easy lettering style to use. And I think it definitely, like if you are familiar with the album, you would totally recognize it. And it was pretty easy to do and really only required for me 2 supplies. But like I said, you could totally do it with just 1. So now that my letters were finished, to tie it in a little bit more with the cover page, I added just a couple of the doodles. I did, some of the circles, heart, and stars, using again the same colors that I did last time, but not as many as the cover page because the quote page was a little bit busier with the amount of words that were on it. If you look in the bottom right corner, you will see one new doodle that I brought in that I'm going to use again, I think a couple times throughout the rest of the theme, which is a strawberry. She had that big strawberry sticker, which I thought was absolutely so cute. That one and the sun on the cover page are like my favorites. I think they're really cute and just really pulled the whole theme together. And that is just about my first 2 pages finished. So moving on, I have my calendar and then my mood and habit tracker. Typically, I do not do a 1-page calendar spread, but we are switching it up this month because again, I really only have a couple pages left, and because I don't have school and assignments, there's not as much for me to put into my calendar page. So I did think that I would be able to squeeze it into 1 page. As usual, I did my calendar starting on Mondays. That is just a personal preference, how I view the week conceptually. I think it starts on Mondays, not on Sundays, but that's besides the point. That's just how I usually format my calendars. And I think my boxes were pretty much the same height. They are usually, I believe, either 6 or 7 dot spaces tall, and they are only 4 dot spaces across. So pretty cramped, but again, not really gonna have too much to put in them. And now I'm doing the same font for June up at the top as I did on the cover and quote page. For this one, I decided to just go with 2 big doodles, kind of similar to the image I showed you of the picture of the album where it had like the 2 big stickers right next to it of the strawberry and the star. I decided to go with that because I know this page is already going to be pretty cramped, so I didn't want to do a bunch of little tiny doodles like I did on the other 2 pages. Another thing that I really like about this theme, like I already said, the font style is pretty easy to recreate, but the doodles themselves really aren't complicated. I think it's just when you have it all together that it like gives that look of the album, but like strawberries, hearts, stars, circles, they're all pretty easy doodles that I think mostly anybody could recreate. And then I took that purple color, which is the background color for the album, and just added a little bit of a drop shadow to make the calendar pop. After I finished filling in the letters, very conveniently because the way June ended on a Wednesday, I had that nice little rectangle down in the bottom right corner, which was the perfect size for me to add in my YouTube analytics tracker. I always write down my subscriber count, views, watch time hours, and how much I earned. Basically, in total, I do like since I started YouTube on the 1st of the month and the end of the month. I think this is just kind of a fun way to stay motivated because it can be hard, day to day to actually see like growth in your channel, especially now that I'm only posting once a week. I've definitely seen kind of a slow compared to when I posted twice a week, but that makes sense. There's less content for people to view, so your channel won't grow as quickly, but that is okay. And like I always say, thank you guys so much for, watching this video, engaging with my channel, and contributing to those numbers. If you want to contribute more, you can subscribe. Alright, and now we are moving on to my mood and habit tracker page. Like usual, I do these on the same page, so again, very convenient with my few amount of pages that I have left, but I titled them the same way I've been doing all of my headers. And then I think what I did for my mood tracker was super fun this month, so you will see that in 1 second after I finish outlining the words of my habit tracker. So for this month's mood tracker, I quite tediously, as you can see this in like 8 times speed, drew out 30 different symbols inspired by all of the different stickers that she had. So strawberries, suns, flowers, butterflies. I made little jewels because a lot of the stickers she has are very sparkly, and it's kind of hard to get that with just an outline, so I made them as little jewels, but I drew 30 of them, one for each day of the month, that I will color in the different corresponding colors, which I had a lot of colors to choose from this theme, so that is pretty easy. Now you see me outlining my habit tracker, same as I do every month. I think my mood tracker is probably one of my favorite spreads to set up because this is the one that I change the most from month to month. I have a lot of fun coming up with different ways and things to color in to symbolize each mood. However, for my habit tracker, that has been the same for probably over a year, which I always say like, yeah, I'm gonna try something different, and I don't. So hopefully, you know, when I transition into my new bullet journal, that will be a goal of mine to try out a new habit tracker. But I'm tracking 3 different habits this month: exercising, studying for the NCLEX, and doing art, whether that be drawing, painting, or just filling out my bullet journal. Once I finished putting in the letters, I did 5 different colors for 5 different moods. They don't exactly have names, but I kind of view them as like really great, good, okay, and pretty bad. And lastly, to make it pop out, I took that same light purple inspired by the background color of the album cover and outlined both the title for my mood and my habit tracker. And that is those 2 pages finished. Alright, so last up before we get into my weekly spread, I did my usual spending and budgeting / savings tracker. I really hope that the right side of my page is not incredibly distracting with these 2 like neon orange index cards. So since it's already into June, I already made my budget and savings, which really the only things that I don't feel comfortable sharing are my income, like not the total number, but like per job, like what I get paid and how much I have in my different savings buckets. I use buckets because I have Ally Bank. That is besides the point. But so I wanted to just cover that up, and it was easier to cover up the whole page. So I'm sorry if that's like super distracting, but yeah, I just already did it and I thought it'd be easier than going into post and blurring everything out. Alright, now that that is out of the way, we can move back over to my spending tracker. Again, pretty basic, does not change much month to month. I just titled it at the top spending, similar font to everything I've done so far, added 2 little doodles, a butterfly and a star. Then I split the page in half, cash and card. My cash side is kind of irrelevant because I almost never have cash, so I don't usually spend cash, but have it because, you know, happens sometimes. And then my card side where I, you know, write every time I get paid, how much, and everything I buy, what it was, and how much I spent on it. So I can use that when I fill out my budget, and then at the end of the month, I can see how much I spent and where my money is going and if I stuck to my budget or not. Now moving on to my budget spread. It has a really similar setup to my spending spread. I have budget at the top. I do have another header a little lower down that you'll see me do once I readjust my index cards, but this one is just labeled budget, and it is again split right down the middle, but this is by my planned budget and my actual budget. So at the beginning of the month, after I kind of evaluate my May budget, how it went, if I went really over in categories, if I went under and don't need to allocate as much the next month, I kind of review all of that, see how my spending went and what kind of adjustments I want to make, if any at all, to my planned budget. So I just go through and write, you know, what I expect to make that month and where I expect my money to go, including into savings. Speaking of savings, this bottom half, I write, you know, the starting balance in my savings goals and then the ending balance. Yeah, I have a whole video all about how I budget if you guys want to see more in depth, so I can link that one in the cards and down below. And with my savings header done, that is those 2 pages finished. Alright, and moving on to my last spread of this video. It is my first weekly spread of June / kind of last weekly spread of May, just because of how the weeks lined up. But for this one, I did a 8-column single page spread. As I explained earlier, now that it's school's over, I'm a single page spread kind of gal. So this is, I believe, a 7 by 16 for each box, either 7 or 6, something like that is how I set up these boxes, which for me, I think fits nicely. You could definitely make your columns taller if you wanted them to be. I like to leave, I think, a pretty good amount of space at the top for my header. This month, my header was pretty full because I had to write May to June, but for the rest of the month, I'll be able to just write like June blank to blank, which will leave a lot more space for doodles, which I love to do. I also like experimenting with different weekly spread setups, so I'm excited to kind of bring those in to this month as well. Then I just went through and labeled all of my boxes, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Usually I do the weekend as one box, or I did during school with a next week and to do category, but I don't really need a next week because usually there aren't like assignments and things that I have to keep track of week to week. And I added in a couple doodles, you know, just to keep it consistent with the theme. Like I said, couldn't really fit too many in with this big header, but definitely want to in future weeks. As I am sure you guys could have predicted by now, I brought in my Tombow to do the thicker letters on the heading, and again, I feel like this really just livens up a pretty basic weekly spread. So this, even if you're not doing an Olivia Rodrigo theme, I think this would be a cool like font style to test out and could really like make a pretty plain page a lot more exciting. And just to make it a little bit more colorful, like I did on my mood tracker, habit tracker spread, I took the same purple color and outlined the words again. I feel like it just gives a cool pop and another little homage to the album cover. All right, and now it is time for my final flip through for this setup. Again, I had so much fun doing this. I thought it was really cool and a pretty unique theme idea, if I do say so myself. I really like to try and switch it up and come up with something a little out of the box. So if you guys have any suggestions for July you would like to see, let me know. Subscribe, like this video, and I will see you next Sunday.